All right, I just wanted to do a quick video before I start moving into more topics regarding Samantha and what has happened over my 5 years of researching this and the conclusions that I've come to that kind of help guide where I'm going with my research. So from 5 years, there are three aspects of this that basically drive where I'm going at this point now. I didn't realize this stuff when I first started researching about Samantha. It was more just a innocent, journey into what had happened in the past 30 years or so. But over 5 years of researching this, there's three things that I've come to the conclusion that really help drive this and bring more of an understanding of who she was and why she may have been a target. The first one is the whole peace activist thing, and you see that now with her being used to brought back up with the Russian and Ukraine incident, conflict, whatever you want to call it over there, and saying, oh, her message is even more meaningful now, and she's being brought back up, like she this was her journey as a person, I guess. She wasn't really a peace activist. The most activist thing that she did was probably her trip to Japan, which was in late 1983 after her trip to the Soviet Union. That she did on her own, and her father wrote a speech for her, and it was the whole granddaughter exchange thing. And so that would be considered a peace activist move on her part when she went to Japan with Jane. But aside from that, I mean, even the Soviet Union trip, you can't really consider that as a peace activist. After that, she went to Disney, did the political show, moved to Hollywood, and she really didn't do much as far as peace activism. And she was still involved with some peace organizations, and I will talk about these because there's a lot to talk about with some of these organizations that she was involved with. But anyway, that's number one. I mean, she wasn't a peace activist, and she's still being used to this day now as the a message from a child about peace. But really, that was not something that she was active in when she perished in the plane crash. The second point is that she was being used by the Soviet Union. That whole narrative is it's deeper than that. That she was used by the Soviet Union, and the far right in the U.S. Didn't like what Andropov was doing with her, and that whole narrative. So the thing that you need to look at with this is that the Soviet Union, at this point in time, was divided. There was the old school KGB crowd, still wanted the Union and all of that, and then there was the younger generation that was being led by Gorbachev, who was coming up the ranks. He was groomed, for his position, and the whole perestroika and glasnost thing. So the Soviet Union was very divided. You had one part that wanted to be westernized, I guess, and the other part that wanted to stay a union. So when you talk about being used by the Soviet Union for Samantha, I guess it's semantics, because which side of the Soviet Union was she being used? I think that's the question. And if it's going to go, if you're going to stick with that narrative, then she was being used by the Gorbachev, glasnost, perestroika, basically wanting to end the Union and become more westernized. That would be the side that she was used in the Soviet Union. You can't just say an overwhelming, overarching thing that she was being used by the Soviet Union, because she basically, like I've said in earlier videos, was part of what brought down the Soviet Union. Her trip was very much used for that purpose. And so that's another thing, another part of this to look at. And who really were the Gorbachev side of the Soviet Union? Who were they, really being backed by? And that's when you start getting into the peace groups, the peace organizations, all of that, from the United Nations and all of that. So that's another piece of this that is incorrect in my view, that she wasn't just used by the Soviet Union. Soviet Union were very divided at this point in time. And the last point I want to make, and this is the most important, is the fact that going through all of this and seeing how she was, pushed and pulled from one side, the other, the far left, the far right, the anti-communist, communists, all of this, and going through that and being thrusted at the world stage is what she was, basically was what had been done with Samantha. And you really do not want to be putting a child in that position. And I know I've said this before, and it's a very important piece of this. That would be the last thing that I would ever want to do, is put my daughter in the position of being in such a struggle at the top, at the highest level of politics and everything on this planet. And that's what she was put into. And I think that overall Samantha's story is a cautionary tale. You do not want to thrust children into this position. Sure, children are very intelligent. They can be very perceptive, all of these things. But also, children do not have the experience, the world experience of understanding what they're being told and what they're doing and how these things have all come about. They don't have the wisdom. And so, in my opinion, and looking at all of this, the last thing that you want to do with a child is put her into this position. She was a 10-year-old kid when she wrote this letter, and everything that she had to go through is just astounding, and how she handled it is incredible. But at the end of the day, you don't want to be, because you're basically giving away your child to the machine in a way. And I know that Arthur, in the spring of 1985, had started talking about how there were people trying to make her a martyr, and he was getting tired of that. And if you think about who was it that was trying to make her a martyr, you would think that it would be like what I talked about previously, the peace side and the Gorbachev and that side of things. And he wanted to move Samantha out of that. So even he was understanding at that point. I mean, Hollywood is probably not the best place to go, but it was at least different than becoming, immersed in this peace activist, world struggle at 12, 13 years old. It's just crazy. But so these are 3 points that I've come through the past 5 years that are really driving where I'm going with my research and the writing and all of that. And I just wanted to put this stuff out on the table, so you have an understanding of where I'm coming from, and it'll help go along with where I'm going with the writing and the next videos and all of that. So I just wanted to put that out there quick. Hopefully this made sense, and you understand where I'm coming from, and it's a very unfortunate what happened with Samantha, and I think it's not something that really should be pushed, that you want children doing this at this level. That's just my opinion. But anyway, all right, I'll put another video up again soon going into this stuff, and we'll see you later.